We're studying love as Jesus understood it. Jesus clearly explained that his idea of love summarized the 10 commandments of God as they are embraced from the heart. And so we've been unpacking this notion of love by studying each commandment, and today brings us to number 8. We're looking at the 10 commandments as they're listed in Exodus, so we come today to verse 15. And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. This word for steal that you find there is a very broad term. It covers a lot of things. It can refer to stuff, possessions that belong to somebody else. It can refer to people. The word kidnapping is just the word steal. You steal people and try to get money for them. It can refer to ideas that belong to somebody else, or to the authority that belongs to somebody else. And it can even refer to the loyalty that belongs to somebody else. You see, it's a very broad idea. The eighth commandment deserves a lot more attention than it gets. If my own home or my own car hasn't been broken into, I don't think about it very much. But stealing is everywhere. It's everywhere. Some obvious examples. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the total Medicare spending in 2010 was well over $500 billion, and the Office of Management and Budget said about $50 billion of that was fraud. So 2010, just about $1 in every 10 was fraud. That's who's going to pay for that? That's stealing. It's stealing. U.S. Chamber of Commerce says that 75% of employees in this country steal from work, and most do so repeatedly, so that the typical organization loses 5% of its income to employee theft. Who pays for that? That's stealing. Piracy is still a problem in the 21st century. The Islamic State is still stealing people in order to sell them back to their families. Sometimes stealing is called stealing, but it goes by a lot of names. Sometimes it's waste, as when the government employees spend tax dollars on dance clubs, gambling, and $13,000 a plate dinners. Sometimes it's called, stealing is called cheating, like when you sell a car or some piece of equipment without disclosing its true condition. Sometimes it's called price fixing. Apple just paid out $450 million on an e-book price fixing scheme. Sometimes it's called either cramming or ramming. I've heard it both ways. For several years, Verizon would add small items to our bill that we didn't ask for, okay? But Mickey saw. And after trying several times to get them to stop, and they wouldn't, she contacted the Attorney General. We found out by the National Association of Attorney Generals it was the fourth most common complaint, consumer complaint, in 2007. And Verizon announced that it would refund $50 million to its customers because it was immoral and illegal. We didn't get all that $50 million, but good going, Mickey. Go, girl. That was good. Now add to all that, obvious things, stealing husbands and stealing wives by offering them an escape from responsibility. Stealing the hearts of children by seducing them with promises of acceptance or fun. Stealing a person's job by spreading lies. Stealing someone's self-respect through online bullying. Stealing people's homes by giving them a choice between conversion or death, or abandoning a home that perhaps your family had had for 100 years. Stealing people's freedom through force or through the methodical erosion of rights. Stealing is based on a very simple presence. What mine is mine, and what yours is mine too, if I can get it. Whether it's your wallet or your boyfriend or a self-appointed perk on my expense account or the Crimean Peninsula. I mean, whatever. You know, if I want what belongs to you, I'll take it if I can. And then it'll belong to me. Christians don't see it that way. True Christians do not see ownership that way. We understand that God owns everything. Everything. He owns the earth, and He owns all the inhabitants that are on the earth. This is, I believe, the most fundamental premise of Christianity, is that there is a creator God who made everything else. That is the basis for accountability, and it leads right to redemption. It is fundamental. Everything belongs to somebody, and it's not us. It's the one who made things. Jupiter belongs to God. The Severn River belongs to God. The jar of crunchy peanut butter in my refrigerator belongs to God. Who has ever given to God that God should repay him? For from Him and through Him and to Him are all things. To Him be glory forever. Amen. The amen was part of the quote, but anyway. God owns everything. And the Scripture says it was always God's intent to give the earth to mankind. Okay? That to delegate this planet to our care so we could imitate Him. He gave us the ability. Not any other creature on this planet has the ability to rule the place the way He rules the universe, wisely, lovingly, joyfully. We have the ability to do this. Human sin has completely tossed out this arrangement. Humanity claims the earth for its own. We claim ourselves for ourselves. That is the greatest act of theft ever committed. God's judgment on our theft is pending. Already our lifespan is restricted. And God, in fact, has suspended the bulk of His judgment only because He is calling out a people to save. But make no mistake, there's a day of judgment coming when He will hold mankind accountability for how we have stolen the planet and stolen ourselves. In effect, sin has made this entire age of humanity transient, in that things aren't going to stay this way. What we own now, we're not going to own permanently, not the way it is today. When Christ returns, all the stuff we've accumulated goes back into the box. All the stuff of this life, all the play money, our stack of Legos that we're building with, the Monopoly property, all goes back into the box. So from our perspective, there's no point in stealing. You know, if I were to swipe a house off of Marvin Gardens or sneak out a hotel and put it on Park Place, I'm just going to have to throw it back into the box pretty soon, and would have accomplished nothing except making myself a thief. It's not as if you get to keep anything that you steal. People steal only when there is no fear of God in their eyes, which is the same as saying also there's no hope that justice will ever prevail. And they believe they can get away with their theft. Perhaps they have invented a God who encourages them to steal and to kidnap and run people out of their homes. Or perhaps people think that if they can just keep what they steal until they die, they've won. But on the day of judgment, they will have to give public account for everything they have stolen. And such will be their shame and their punishment, they will beg the mountains to fall on them to protect them from God's wrath. See, Christians just see the world differently. So it makes no sense for us to steal. We gain nothing by it. But it goes so much deeper than that. The eighth commandment goes down to the roots of our humanity and to the roots of our hope. It is an integral part of our humanity that God made us to work. Good things don't just happen. They happen because we make them happen. That's part of what it means to be in His image. We work. Work is to be productive is a very, very, very good thing. And it's part of who we are. It's baked into our humanity. In the Garden of Eden, being in God's image was defined in terms of dominion over the planet. What do you think that means? It wasn't like some, manor home where you're just going to sit around and everybody else serves you. That's not dominion. That's not how God understands dominion. Dominion is imitating Him. How does God rule the planet? Well, He waters the mountains from His upper chambers, and the earth is satisfied by the fruit of His work. He makes grass grow for the cattle and the plants, bringing forth food from the earth. God is no distant Lord in a manor. His rule is better imagined with jeans and a hoe. He waters the earth. He raises cattle. He grows food. He likes to work. He likes to work so much. He works so hard and so intently that even though He never gets tired, He rested after His work week to enjoy what He had done. And He wants us to know the same joy. To be in God's image is to work. God didn't make mankind and then figure out what kind of environment do they need. God made a gem of a planet, and then He created us to take care of it. Isn't that what it says? And this is one of my all-time favorite verses. The Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. It's one of my favorite verses because it tells me who I and who you and what every other human being was made to do. God made the Garden of Eden Himself. He made that. He put our parents there and He said, now I want you to make the whole earth like this. What, like a picture of that? No. I give you some criteria to work the whole earth. 2 criteria. I want you to produce beauty and I want you to make things productive. And there's the cultural mandate, just in a nutshell. Make the world more beautiful, make it more productive than when you found it. Yeah, I know that sin has made our work hard. It's made it laborious. It talks about the thorns that Adam had to work with. And that's true. But it's only until sin is judged and removed. The thorns that fight our work today are temporary. The joy of work itself is eternal. When you finish a household project you spent months on, when you step back from the engine you rebuilt, when you write the last chapter of your book, when your oil painting is dry and the landscaping you've been doing is finished, and the meal is set on the table, and the underdog candidate you worked for won, and when the game was so good, both teams got a standing ovation, and when you submit a project and you know it was well done, you taste what work was meant to be. A challenge to every faculty you have, or you wouldn't have the faculty. It's a challenge that brings out the best in you, makes the world a better place, makes your Father in heaven, your Creator, proud. Now, the thorns do turn work into a chore. But work is still what we're made for. Stealing attacks other people's humanity. It undermines it. It denies it. They work hard to produce something. It might not be much, but it's something. It's something that declares that they are like the God who made them. They produce, they make beauty. Stealing robs some of their humanity from them, forces them out of homes that they have to build a family with, leeches off people's weaknesses through gambling or addiction, assassinates character with half-truths that destroy a career. It skews the proper curve on a test and therefore robs the genuine achievement of others. It manipulates the stock market unfairly to wipe out life savings, wipe out the ability of hardworking people to do good with what they had earned, undermining their legacy. And stealing fundamentally denies our own humanity too. Stealing refuses to create. It refuses to create beauty or productivity. It lets other people work hard to produce and do the magnificent things in life. When I say magnificent, I don't mean necessarily big. Like knitting together a sweater with your own hands. That's amazing. It's a miracle all those knots come together. Just to have it stolen by somebody else. Or working hard to make employees happier and healthier, to have your own career ruined, or training someone in any good skill. There's lots of things that are magnificent. Stealing lets other people produce and make the world a better place while you do nothing. Stealing is not just about taking things. You steal when you do nothing and you let other people do all the work in society or in your neighborhood or in your family or in your church. It's stealing. God didn't steal when He made the universe. It came from Him. And it declares His glory. And that's what it's like to be in His image. Whatever I own as an assignment from God. God owns the universe, but there's a sense in which there's a certain kind of delegated ownership that He gives to me. The Bible has a great word for it. It's an old concept of stewardship. A steward is an old word for a manager, somebody who manages an estate. Most of us don't have estates. We have to have somebody manage all the time. Maybe you do. But that's what used to be like. And a steward, he or she, would have complete authority over the estate to manage it on behalf of the owner. And so the steward would enjoy the estate as if, he's the owner, but it's not his. Doesn't own it. The steward is trusted with it all to do it right. Stewardship is partly about skill. Partly about skill. You don't want the steward to break the china because they're clumsy. Right? But stewardship is mostly about trust. You have to know that the steward isn't going to steal the china. You can learn skills. My estate. What is my estate? It's my time in history and the opportunities that fall to me. It's my nation, my society. It's my genes. It's the body that I have. It's the faculties that I have and the energy and the lifespan. My assignment includes the social struggles around me right now and the challenges in my neighborhood and the needs of my family and the needs and demands and the opportunities of my church and my career. As God's steward, I'm responsible to manage this estate that He entrusted to me. He owns it all. He owns me, but I manage me. I manage me for Him. And of course God wants me to do it right. He wants me to do well. But He is much, much more interested in me being faithful. He's looking for people He can trust. Skills can be learned. God doesn't hold us accountable for what He has not assigned to us. If you weren't born a genius, you don't have to steal somebody else's ideas. If you're a genius, be one. But if you aren't, it doesn't matter. What does matter is what you have and what you do with it. God wants to see what you do with what you are given in this transient life, the way it's all worked out. It's going to be transient. God's grace to cover sin is infinite. It's free for all who trust Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. God will not love any of His children more than any other, but He is looking for something. The master goes away for a long time and he entrusts all of his estate to his stewards. And then he comes back and he says, what have you done? Well, you gave me 10, minas. I got more minas. I'm not sure what a mina is right now, but it's something good, some kind of money, and this is what I've done. And I'm sure that Master was very happy to get minas. Can you read that and tell me what he's really happy that he got? He got a faithful steward. That's what he cares about, not the minas. There's somebody who was faithful with what I gave him. I can trust him with 10 cities. Because if you can trust somebody, you can trust somebody. And if you can't trust somebody with minas, you can't trust them with cities. And God has an inheritance. He has an estate for us that is fantastic. And he's looking for partners among all the children he loves. He's looking for partners to manage it that he can trust. That he can trust. When we look at possessions this way, it's clear that God doesn't care so much about the stuff that we steal. We aren't going to make God any poorer. Everything's going to go back into the box pretty soon when Christ returns. What stealing does is that it hurts my relationship with him. When I was about 8, my grandmother gave me some money and she said, go across the street to Bowen's store and get me some baking powder. It's the first time she'd ever asked me to do that, anything like that. So I did. Me mom, to a large extent, raised me. My parents, my 2 brothers, and I lived in her home. My parents worked, so she would get us off in the morning. She would get us back as kids when we came home. She did most of the cooking, most of the house cleaning. She never struck me. She never scolded me. All she did was love on me. The whole time we were there. When I got to the store, I got the baking powder. But I also saw this nice little display of toys, and there was something there I really wanted. It was only 15 cents, so I went ahead and got that too. I put it in my shirt, and came home, thought, well, she'll never know. I just didn't count on one thing. She could count change. To this day, a lifetime later, I will never forget the look of disappointment on her face. It's one of those images I'll never forget. Money was tight, but she didn't care about the 15 cents. I betrayed her. It wasn't about the money that I stole. It was about us. We belonged to each other. I violated that trust. God owns everything. That means he owns us too. He owns us because he made us, and Christian, he owns us a second time because he bought us with the blood of his Son. We belong to him. Not in the surface way that a thing belongs to a person, but in the deep and rich way in which 2 persons belong to each other, in what we call love. And when we steal, no matter what we steal, the main thing that we are stealing is us from him. Whatever we made off with, however large and expensive it is in the world's eyes, it's no more than a 15-cent toy to him. The theft that hurts is the theft of ourselves, wanting something enough to steal for it and betray him as if we didn't belong to him or he didn't belong to us. How did me mom respond? I must have been disciplined, but all I remember is her face. I don't remember what else they did. But I know what she did. She prayed for me. For a total of 19 years, she prayed for my salvation. 19 years. Sometimes I could hear her in the other room praying for me. I didn't like it, but she did it anyway. She prayed until I became a Christian the same year she died. I think she was so stubborn. She said, Lord, and she just kept praying until I came to faith. Christian, you have broken this commandment. When you shave things off of your taxes, you think nobody sees? You think God doesn't see that? Or your school projects, or your flirting, or your manipulations, or your character assassinations behind somebody's back, you have stolen what belongs to others. And God cares about what you stole, and if things come to your mind, you ought to think about dealing with that, making restitution if you can, sometimes fourfold, just to learn a lesson. But what really grieves him is how you have stolen yourself. As if there were anything you truly need that he wouldn't give you. Or anything really worthwhile that you couldn't find on your estate now, or have an abundance in just a few years. And you know, Christian, how he responds to your theft. He prays for you. Jesus prays for you every day. Prays for you until the Holy Spirit finds where you have stolen off to, picks you up, brings you back to his heavenly Father. And if he gets you back, Christian, well, when he gets you back, Christian, then he has what he wants. We love by faithfully managing ourselves for God, treating my life as God's estate, making it bloom and prosper for him with plenty to share with others. Doing that, I don't need to steal from you. I don't need to steal from anyone. What I'd ask you to think about, talk about, I think talking about it's good. Pray about. What's the estate that you manage? What are all the things that make up you? Are you working on your estate? All the different kinds of things and aspects of your life. Are you working on the estate, or are you stealing from other people, just letting them work? Whether it be your family or society or your church, just letting them work. And you just live off of that. That's stealing. Or are you making your world more productive? Are you making your world more beautiful than you found it? Christian, what can you do to manage better for the one who wants nothing more than for you to be like him? Let's pray. Father, many of us are going to be coming to your table over the next few minutes. And today a lot of us are going to be coming to you with some things in our hands, as it were. We're going to bring up here some things that we've stolen. I come with that 15-cent toy, the memory of that, and some other things too. We come with resources and people in our lives that we've never dedicated to you. We come with resources and gifts we haven't used. We come asking for forgiveness and asking for grace, asking for a clean heart. And we bring it all before you as stolen goods. We know that in your Son we already have amnesty for all of our crimes. We only need to confess, turn over to you what we've stolen. And we know, Father, that as we lay down our stolen goods, you won't be looking at them. You'll be looking at us with love and pride. Love for you, love for us, and pride in what your only Son has accomplished, because only he could retrieve the stolen goods you really care about, and that's us. Father, we look forward to the day when your Son returns, when everything goes back into the box so we can start over, when even death is swallowed up and nothing will ever go back into the box again, but just be used over and over for your glory, better and better, forever. I receive from the Lord that which I also delivered to you, that our Lord Jesus, on the night in which he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it. He said, This is my body broken for you. Take and eat in remembrance of me. And then he took the cup after supper. He said, This cup is my blood of the new covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. Drink of it, all of you, in remembrance of me. We're told as often as we eat this bread and drink this cup, we proclaim our Lord's death until he comes again. I invite you to his table.